Annyeonghaseyo. This is Kristen, also known as Blerd Sunbae. Find me like everywhere under that name. I'm here today at Saturn. It's a little bit of everything. They got vintage games. They got the card games, the old video games. It's a bar. It's a coffee shop. They can have gaming tournaments here. As you can see by the stage in front of me, they're about to have what's called Moth storytelling. So if you haven't heard of Moth, you probably definitely heard of NPR. And you know, you've heard of Tiny Desk and things like that. So Moth is the storytelling piece. And in different areas around the nation, they have events like this where people tell stories and you don't know what you're going to hear. It could be funny, it could be sad, it could be anything. So usually there are about 10 stories. People pull their stories out of a hat, you know, if you feel it. I don't know if I have the nerves enough to do it. I barely have enough nerve to be here in front of you all, in front of everybody doing this right now in the room. So it's going to be fun. Got invited by Chris Davis. Stay tuned to the interview that I had with Chris Davis at Filter. Excuse my keys. At Filter Coffee Parlor. So very excited. I haven't been to a Moth in a little minute. So glad to be back, and some of these stories might make it to the radio. I'm going to make sure I be very cautious. You know, I know some people do and don't want their stuff to make it to the radio. I don't have any insight over like who signed what waivers. So I'm just going to like showcase who's talking, make sure I capture everybody's name, take some notes. You know, we got to be on our real journalism tip. I've never been here early enough to fill out one of the slips before, so let's see what the theme is. I mean, the theme overall today is Love Hurts. It's February, Happy Black History Month. Let me tell you what this is. So typically, you know, we turn in our slips about whatever kind of stories we want to tell, little mini pieces to the show, and then Chris reads them off in between different storytellers. So it is now February 24th. The theme, like I said before, is Love Hurts. And it's asking to tell us about a time you wore your heart on your sleeve. So I'm gonna get the thinking cap on, you know, get all vulnerable and in the feels about the time I wore my heart on my sleeve. I'm glad to finally be here early enough to do this. I'm gonna close the intro out because I've probably been talking for like a million minutes. They're getting ready. All right, peace.
I would like to start off by saying I'm so excited to be here as your new regional producer. Again, my name is Sunbae, and we're going to have a fantastic year together. In addition to that announcement, I would like to say if you are interested in volunteering with us here at the Moth, please find me after the event today or go to our Facebook page. I posted a link there. You can literally sign up on the Google form and I will instantly get an email, okay? Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our host, Chris, who will be taking care of us tonight. Chris.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Saturn. How you doing? Welcome to the Birmingham Moth Story Slam, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Wonderful, wonderful February crowd here. I love it, I love it. A big hand for Saturn for having us here, everybody. A big hand for all of our producers, our volunteers, our film crew over here. Big hand for them. And of course, a big hand for our media partner, WBHM, where you can hear the Moth Story Hour every Saturday from 1 at 90.3 on your FM dial. Does anybody still use the radio? Of course you do. In fact, WBHM has a little corner over there behind the window, so go there, talk to them, and sign up and, I don't know, give them a grant or something, I don't know. They got stickers and buttons and all kinds, and they're friendly, delightful people. All right, cool. Also, happy Black History Month, everybody here. Who has never been to a Moth Story Slam? Raise your hand. Ooh, welcome, welcome, newbies. Welcome, welcome. So, here's how we go. We have 10 storytellers tonight, and they're going to be telling a 5-minute story on our theme, Love Hurts. We all have a Love Hurts story. So you're in good company. So, 5 storytellers at the beginning. We have intermission, and then 5 more. And we also have 3 teams of judges that are hidden throughout the audience. Yes, let's find our 3 teams of judges here and get their names. Where's our first team of judges? So, over here, what is your team name?
The Honeymooners.
The Honeymooners. Who is our second team of judges? Over here, what is your team name?
Mom said it's 5.
Mom said it's fine. All right. Where's our third team of judges? Right over there. What is your team name?
It's not me, it's you.
It's not me, it's you. Yes. Alrighty, so here's how this goes. I will pick the first storyteller. Each storyteller after that, you will reach into the bag and you will choose the following storyteller. Democracy in action. Y'all like that? Alrighty, let me get the story bag here. Shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em up, shake 'em. Alright, are you ready, everybody? Are you ready? Are you ready for our storyteller evening? Please welcome to the stage, everybody, Wesley Moth.
Hello, everybody. I am Wesley. Love hurts. Sure does, sometimes. I grew up in Wisconsin, and I moved to the South when I was 8 years old. I came from a very small town. My family owned a restaurant. We were well-known, well-respected. I really only knew love and adoration in my community. And when I moved, we had a man come into the restaurant, a stranger, with a blank check. And my mother, being from Mountain Brook, said, "I am sick and tired of Wisconsin snow and negative 20 degrees. And my dad said, "Okay, let's take that blank check, let's ask for a big number, and let's get out of here." So we moved to Texas and went to go live with my grandparents for a year while we got our feet underneath us. And in Texas, I went to 3 different schools.
Keep it going for Wesley, everybody. Very cool, very cool. That's a very touching story. And that's what the Moth is all about, everybody. Everybody from all walks of life come here. You will hear stories that will make you laugh, that will make you cry, think, feel. Everybody has a story to tell. You all have a voice in you. You all have something to tell. And this is the place to do it, everybody. Alrighty, I'm going to call out our next storyteller, and then we'll read some of your slips and get our judges to deliberate. Our next storyteller is Andrea Wilson Woods. You're our next storyteller, please. Keep waiting in the wings.
My life as a parent began on December 19th, 1994, when an exuberant 8-year-old bounded off a plane and into my arms. The flight attendant running after her laughed and said, "You must be her sister, Andrea." And my sister Adrian replied, "Yep, she's my sissy." Neither of us knew it then, but Adrian's 2-week holiday visit to Los Angeles would become a permanent stay. The day after Christmas, our mother called and asked if I would keep Adrian. She didn't want to be a mother anymore. Our mother's life had unraveled. She was addicted to prescription drugs, but she was a high-functioning addict. She had always managed to keep a job until she lost her nursing license for shooting up morphine at work. I told our mother that if I took Adrian then, I wouldn't give her back. I was only 22 years old. I had a college degree. I had a great apartment. But I lived with my older boyfriend, who was an abusive alcoholic. One night, after totaling his truck, he came home in a drunken rage. After locking him out of our bedroom and praying that Adrian's door was locked too, he tore the door off its frame because he thought I was calling the police. But I didn't. If they saw our living situation, my sister would be removed from my home and sent to a foster care.
Everybody, please give a big hand to our next storyteller, Keith Cockrell, everybody!
Okay, it was a probably a spring day, back in the late 60s, maybe the early 70s. And there she was, this beautiful creature. She was standing outside in front of my parents' home, and I'd never seen her before. And I said, "Who is that?" And the girl next door said, "Oh, that's just Tyrone's sister. Don't play with her. She'll tear your stuff up." But I'd never seen her before. And then Darcy reached out. She touched my arm and said, "Don't listen to her. I won't tear your stuff up." And I said, "That's a boy's bike." So lame. And Darcy said, "Oh, I know. It's my brother's bike. He lets me ride." I'd never seen her before. Turns out that everybody knew the Parnells. They went to Center Street School, but somehow me and my brother and some sisters, we went to Western Street School, so we didn't know them. And this was the first time I had seen her. And she took me around the corner and she showed me her home. And there was all these kids running around outside, pulling on her and saying that. And I would say, "Who is that?" And she'd say, "Well, that's my sister." And then somebody else would pull on her, and I said, "Well, who was that?" And she said, "Well, that's my brother." And this happened about 5 or 6 times. I said, "How many brothers or sisters do you have?" And she said, with some degree of family pride, "I have 10 brothers and sisters." It was so cute. And I happened to look inside the bathroom, and there were all these little towels strung around the sink. I mean, I'm like, wow. And later on that night, I told my mom about it, and I said, "I met this girl, and she had like she had 10 brothers and sisters." And I'm like, "Oh my!" But my mom was from Chambers County, Alabama, so it was no big deal to her. You know, it's like crops. Hey, you don't just raise your crops, you raise your farm hands, because those crops are not going to pick themselves.
Our next storyteller who will be making their way to the stage is Russell Aaron. Russell Aaron, you'll be making your way to the stage, Russell.
Hi, good evening. So, the year was 2009, and I had felt like the luckiest guy in the world because about 10 years earlier, I'd gotten my start in stand-up comedy. And my dream was to one day quit my day job and go on the road performing stand-up full-time. Now, I'd been performing regularly in Birmingham for a few years, and I would frequently have the opportunity to go work at comedy clubs out of state, but so far not reliably enough to where I could really call it my profession. All right, but now, after 10 years of writing and performing and hustling, things had finally fallen into line where I could proudly call myself a professionally touring stand-up comedian. Okay, thank you. But as the years went by, I was going to discover the difference between doing stand-up comedy for the love of it versus doing stand-up comedy as a job, and that difference is love hurts. Okay? Oh my God. But when I first got on the road, I mean, I felt like I was on top of the world. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't have a boss, I wasn't waiting tables, I was living my dream, you know, doing the one thing I truly love to do and getting paid to do it, all right? And, okay, yeah, maybe I was having to drive 13 hours at a stretch, and maybe the drive was to Iowa, and the gig only paid $175, and yes, there was only 12 people in the audience, and the gig was in a bowling alley, and yeah, I'm staying in a rundown Motel 6 with stains on the carpet of concerning origin, but damn it, I am happy and proud, and I'm having a blast. Right.
Skippy the janitor walked in on us. Skippy was a cool dude, really, but did not appreciate finding us there. And, you know, we tried our best to stay as a couple. We got fake engaged on our way out of town to go into our colleges. He went to Swanee and I went to Tuscaloosa, U of A. And, you know, cried, so much crying. About 4 months into college, I get a Dear Jane letter. He tells me, you know, we tried to maintain this long distance relationship, you know, letters back and forth and phone calls. Anyone under the age of like 21, phone calls were very expensive. So it's hard to maintain. Anyway, 4 months later, I get a letter and it tells me that we had sinned before the eyes of God and that he did not have time for anything in his life but his college classes and God, not me. Let me tell you something. We had not sinned. That was to come years later. But my point being, young love, right?
All right, so we just made it to the intermission. We had quite a few tearjerkers in the first half. Honestly, I was like blinking. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's too early for all of this. But no, there were some really good stories, a lot of really funny ones, a lot of really sad ones. But everybody's open and vulnerable with their stories at the end of the day, and it's been great. And it's also been great hearing the in-between parts of, you know, the time where you wear your heart on your sleeve. Mine hasn't been read yet. I did write one. We'll see on the back half. But it's been a great time so far. So now we're just chilling, enjoying a little bit of downtime, you know. I think people are gonna start working up the nerve to like get on stage a little bit. They got a little extra time to tell their stories. And we got to, you know, see in the first half, Keith Cockrell. So, you know, I had talked with Keith earlier, you know, about capturing him and his experience of telling his story on stage. Man, look, when Chris made that joke about playing the long game, he was not playing. That was the long game, so I can't wait for y'all to hear his story. That was a really good one, so stay tuned for more. Gonna try not to let the battery die, and I can't wait for part 2, so peace out.
I graduated college with an English degree, very low self-esteem, no skills, and no idea what to do. So, as you know, was the trend for conscientious young women in the early 2010s, I enrolled in a teaching master's degree program, you know, with starry-eyed dreams of being a teacher. And I liked teaching. It was, you know, I liked the flowy cardigans with the pockets, you know, pull around. I loved, you know, the gossip over happy hour. I loved speaking in front of the class, and I loved getting to explain things and teach students. But teaching hurt because love hurts, and I love teaching, and I fell out of love with teaching because it was like a bad relationship. I started looking at it, well, you know, there's so much potential and stability and, you know, a little rough around the edges, but, you know, you do it for love. So I was hired at a school in a neighborhood called Brooklyn, not in New York, but in Baltimore. It was kind of this neighborhood that time forgot on the lip of the city. A very strange and dysfunctional place filled with a just cast of characters of all kinds of people who were quite literally unbelievable. If you've ever seen John Waters movies, it was basically like that in real life.
Welcome to the stage, our next storyteller, Priska Neely!
Hello. I will just cut to the chase and say that this is a love story about a cat. I am single. So if you've heard of the cat distribution system, you know that it's kind of the theory that the cat chooses you, the universe gives you the cat, you know, you don't find the cat, it comes to you. That was certainly the case for me. About a year and a half ago, I was at work one day and there are cats who are usually around the office, but there was this cat that showed up kind of out of nowhere and we were all like who is this new cat? One of the real cat people at work was like, I think she's a house cat. I think she's actually really struggling. She keeps trying to come inside. So she scooped her up one day and brought her into the office, and she tried to actually take her to the Humane Society, and they were like, we're full, we have no room in the inn. So she brought her back to work, and a bunch of us ladies were like gathered around like, oh, there's a cat in the office, cute. She's in our little cat carrier, really cute cat. She's black and has a little tuxedo, little white paws. And one of my coworkers, we were like, what are we gonna do with this cat? And one of my coworkers was like, Priska, you should take this cat. You've always wanted a cat. And I was like, what? No, I haven't. I've never been interested in a cat. I've never expressed interest in a cat. You have a cat. You love your cat. I don't have any interest in cats.
Everybody, please, a big hand for Brian Gagey, everybody!
Well, hey everybody, how are you? Good. Hey, I was wondering if you guys could work with me on something. When you hear the word motivational, I want you to say Marine. Is that okay? Okay, so my name is Brian Gagey, and I am also known as the Motivational Marine. Yes, thank you very much. So, as my title is, I am a United States Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine, and thank you. I appreciate that. You are worth the service. I learned a lot, and a lot of what I learned came from a lot of loss. We talk about love hurting, but how often do we think about this? That actually we're supposed to love ourselves, so how often are we hurting ourselves? So this story that I want to share with you is about how I learned to stop hurting myself. So I grew up in a dysfunctional home, a lot of trauma early on in my life. And then in order to break away from that, I chose to join the Marine Corps. Fun fact, I was working as a therapist with kids with autism just a couple years ago, and I saw a lot of similarities. So I went to the VA, got tested. Turns out I've been autistic my entire life. So my childhood all of a sudden made a lot of sense, and why I didn't fit in. I was a loner in a lot of places, but it also gave me this gift of being able to be okay, utterly alone. So I chose this amazing field of work in the Marines to be a sniper. And it fit well because I didn't mind just being with me and one other guy in some foreign country, and as long as we were invisible, we were okay.
Welcome to the stage, the wonderful Sharif Simmons, everybody!
Wow, that never happens. I feel like I won something. Let me get straight to the point. So it's 1977. I'm 8 years old, and I'm at JFK Airport about to board the plane, Air France, straight to Charles de Gaulle. All this is happening because my mother married her African Studies teacher at Long Island University on Long Island, and I guess while she was studying his African Studies course, he was studying her. And he was an old school African Mac, like kind of a hybrid of like Sidney Poitier and he put together Sidney Poitier and Billy D. Williams. You would have Gilbert Abudo. And I'm assuming he came home and was like, Marlene, I will take you and your children to Africa. Come on. And she was like, get all your shit, we going. And we ended up on a plane. Fast forward, this is where the heartache comes. I have no idea we're on our way to this heartache. We land in Ethiopia, and all of a sudden, like Mutual of Omaha is in our backyard. So Addis Ababa, 1977. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, you have not lived until you see a baboon crossing guard. Like, I'm telling you, they're not playing. Baboons just sit there, stop traffic, and it's like, keep moving. I'm witnessing all of this with my two older brothers, but also with my trusty teddy bear, right? Teddy, right? This is before the movie, and this is my active imagination naming my teddy bear Teddy.
hand our last storyteller of the evening. Yes, our last storyteller of the evening. Everyone, please give a wonderful hand to our last storyteller, Hildy Isaacs, everybody!
I am in love. Finally, after my whole life, I fell in love about 2 years ago. And it's such a good love. We laugh together, we hike together, we cuddle together. It's like nothing I've ever had before in my life. I am in love with me. And I can tell you, it took me a really long time to get here. And it's only 2 years, so I'm still a baby at loving me. But I can see it from the years. Growing up with negative upbringing. My parents told me I was fat, I was ugly, I would never amount to anything. My brothers told me that. Men I dated told me that. For years, and over the years, I felt not just one negative self-talk in my head. There were actually two, constantly whispering in my ear. If I'd walk into a room, they all hate you. Nobody wants you here. Get out. Why are you here? You're weird. It got to the point where I actually envisioned two trolls. The one on this shoulder, I named Crook, because I saw him as a cute little troll with a crooked nose and a crooked attitude, and he would whisper bad things in my ear all the time. And the guy over here, he was Beady, because he had really bad breath. And when he would talk, woof, did it stink. But over and over and over and over all the time. Until finally, about 2 years ago, I just woke up one day and I said, enough!
Like I said, everybody, you never know what you're going to hear at the Moth. You never know. Every kind of person comes here with a wonderful story, and it's always good to hear, and it touches you, and it makes you think, hey, I have a story just like that, or I know somebody just like that. And that's why you're all always welcome to come here and tell your stories, and we love to come listen to your stories. A big hand for all of our storytellers. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Alrighty, drum roll please. The winner of tonight's Moth Story Slam is Sharif Simmons! Yay! Oh my gosh! That was wonderful, man. We did it, everybody. We did it. We did another great Moth Story Slam here in Saturn, Birmingham, Alabama. I want to thank you all so much. And as usual, we like all of our storytellers to make their way to the stage so we can get your picture took. Thank you all, everybody. Destin, my name is Chris. Have a good night. Ride safely. See you next month. All storytellers, make your way to the stage. It's picture time.
All right. Ooh, let me turn down the air. So I don't think I made an outro video, and you know the street light is lighting on me. Keep the hair. It was a complete accident. I've been getting compliments on it, and honestly, I just got too lazy. I got too tired after the braid out to wash it, so it's gonna be like this for a few days. But it just came together in a nice little y'all. Hold on. It just came together, you know, in like a little curly-ish condensed braid out afro. It just came together. Special, a lot of special shout outs. Shout out to Chris Davis, first of all, because if it weren't for him, that would not have happened. I appreciate the invite. You know, I've been to other Moth storytelling events before, but this is the first time that I have been invited somewhere off of a press opportunity after doing some press connections. So I'm very thankful for that. A special shout out to Saturn for hosting. Shout out to WBHM 90.3. Shout out to NPR. Oh my gosh, so many shout outs. Special shout out to Keith Cockrell. I'm really thankful that Keith and I got to speak and talk about, covering his segment. Another special shout out to Sharif Simmons. That was his second time doing the storytelling type of narration, and he won, and I got to talk to him, interview him. There are so many creative people out here, y'all. Color your life however you want to color it. These people created these things in their lives, the books, the music, the poems, their platform. They've been creating their own world to share with us, and we can do that, and that's what it brought about in my mind. So again, I'm so thankful for today. It was wonderful. I can't wait to get this out to you. I'm thankful for all the connections that I made with people. Sunbae, which means I love you in Korean. Is it daisuki? Dice in Japanese? But we do Sunbae over here because we Sunbae. Okay, we Sunbae. And until next time, Sunbae out. I'm about to go grub on this hot honey mustard with blue cheese and extra blue cheese and sweet potato fries from where? Black Market Grill. Oh! Alright, Sunbae and Sunbae out. Peace.
We can agree to disagree, or we can agree to just be free. And Blerd Sunbae brings out the Blerd in me. Get your popcorn, snacks, and get your drinks in. Stay tuned in, it's a nerd evolution. The Blerd's taking over, it's a revolution. The world's full of pollution, let me be the solution. Anime and black creatives, and this diffusion. You're listening to Blerd Sunbae. Sit back, relax, get your snacks, get your drinks. It's gonna be a long ride. See you there. And on the weekend, you never know what you could get. Make sure you stay tuned in. Blerd Sunbae's legit.